terrible, but after snorkeling with 2 sharks today, I had like absolutely no fear, and they were so graceful and beautiful, and it was just such a lovely moment. Studying far is just like a compounding of everything we've learned in the last 3 years of theoretical marine biology, just to see it in front of you and see it all like happening, and yeah, it's just so amazing to see it in real life. Everyone would dream up.
Liquid skin of planet Earth live creatures of unearthly beauty. These tiny animals have crossed oceans of space and time in an epic bid for survival. Wanderers through inner space, they carry the future of their species. On their odyssey, they have faced extinction and awesome planetary force. Theirs is an evolutionary success story made possible by a remarkable reproductive strategy. Coral and its cohorts have arrived from somewhere. Though they seem solid and unmoving, reefs have spread themselves throughout the tropical oceans. How have they overcome their immobility? The answer has its origin in one of life's most fundamental acts, sex. But the reproductive rights of coral communities are shrouded in mystery. It's only in the last 10 years that the reef has begun to reveal its private life. For animals, sex is a fact of life. But for the rocks of the reef, a sex life would seem out of the question. But corals are not rocks. They're colonies of tiny animals. Only the outer surface of these colonies is alive, a living skin populated by polyps. Their structure is simple, a tube with a mouth surrounded by stinging tentacles. These tiny animals, a few millimeters across, build reefs. The beauty of the individual rivals that of the colony as a whole. A single pioneering polyp clones or buds itself endlessly to produce a colony of hundreds, even thousands of identical individuals. In theory, a polyp could live forever this way, unchanging and unmoving. But change and mobility are essential to all species. On the reef, sex achieves both in one elegantly simple solution. It's a brief extravaganza, cued by the summer moon. For the rest of the year, the priority is coping with life's demands. Inside the reef's barrier, garden eels vie for tasty morsels. They inspect drifting particles. Some are food, some just broken parts of other reef creatures. But in the quiet lagoon, every particle is inspected by somebody. A goatfish snuffles industriously. Within a self-made sandstorm, it feasts on small worms and mollusks, which it locates using sensitive barbels. But the real heavy movers in the sand business are sea cucumbers. The basic design is a long, hollow tube that creeps around the lagoon floor. They push sand in one end and out the other. Some sea cucumbers mop the reef with sticky feet, passing edible particles into their mouths. Nature constantly tests and refines its designs. The basic theme remains, only the detail varies. With its body completely buried in sand, another sea cucumber unfurls its feathery arms to net drifting debris. Every particle of sand in the lagoon was once part of the animals and plants that make up the reef. Sand production is aided by heavy-jawed grazers like the bumphead parrotfish. Moving in herds like buffalo over the reef, they bite off pieces of coral, crush it to powder, and leave clouds of new sand in their wake. The reef supports an endless variety of grazers, scrapers, and biters. Many seem to bite a dead reef, but are actually cropping back a fuzz of algae that grows by day. The wastes of these schools of fishes act as fertilizer to the plants they crop. The waters surrounding the reef are poor in nutrients, so recycling of its limited resources is essential. It begins with the invisible haze of life called plankton. It continually showers the reef. Just as plankton gather nutrients from the ocean, fish like the spiny chromis gather plankton, so nutrients from the ocean are imported into the reef's economy. Poised like ghostly daggers, barracuda cruise the coral fringe. They are after more than planktonic prey. These larger predators are drawn to the rich life. Compared to the impoverished oceans, the reef is a prosperous economy. Built up from nothing by the labors of tiny animals and plants, it owes its huge bulk and wingspan of 5 meters to the millions of minute plankton it sieves from tropical waters. Mantas are free agents, opportunists. They exploit the reef as and when it focuses their food supply. They feed and then move on, leaving each reef a little poorer for their passing. The blubber jelly voyages at the whim of wind and tide, feeding on plankton as it drifts. Billowing in the currents, it's an occasional visitor to the reef. Like all jellyfish, it's a free-living relative of the unmoving corals on the reef below. Building on the skeletons of others, Hard corals extract calcium from seawater. Tiny polyps toil in limestone to craft their biological works of art. Bold against blue, lace-like gorgonians strain against the current. On the reef slope, soft corals sweep the same current. Their flexible arms house polyps, but unlike hard corals, these are no reef builders. Lacking a solid skeleton, they draw support from tiny limestone spines within their tissues. When the soft coral dies, it disappears, leaving no lasting monument. Reef plants appear to be just as ephemeral, but their role is fundamental. All capture energy from sunlight. Some also contribute to the reef structure. The brittle green Halimeda is mainly limestone. It constantly sheds gritty flakes into the lagoon. The stony skin of pink coralline algae glues the limestone blocks of the reef together. Filamentous algae seems little more than a green fur on rocks, but it's the pasture of the reef and essential to all the reef's grazers. But the ties that bind algae and the reef together go deeper. Like algae, hard corals also require sunlight to grow. This is a clue to an intimate... Somewhere in their evolutionary past, corals struck a deal with microscopic single-celled algae called zooxanthellae. The algae sheltered inside the polyp tissue, producing sugars from sunlight and recycling coral waste products. This partnership became a most powerful polyps. Wreathed with stinging tentacles, each polyp is poised to reap a grisly harvest. Other members of the night shift emerge to feed. Feather stars take up strategic positions in the current. They sieve plankton and particles with their arms. Slender prey, a formation of razorfish, expertly mimic the harp coral that hides their knife-like bodies. A chaotic ball of eel-tailed catfish swarms in mid-water between feeding. Lagoon sands below them are loaded with hidden delicacies. These miniature catfish scout for their supper in rank and file, aided by sensitive chin whiskers. Lagoon sediments provide dainty pickings for the feather-mouthed sea cucumber. Little more than an elastic tube filled with water, it delicately wipes each feathered finger across its mouth, collecting food along with sand. vast sea cucumbers have rubbery bodies that make them unpalatable to predators. They continue their slow work of shunting sediment day and night and have no need to hide, unlike the sophisticates of the night shift. A hunter by night, an octopus is able to change both color and texture. Hiding and bluffing, this stealthy camouflage expert is both actor and magician. Its relative, the cuttlefish, shares the octopus' talent for lightning color change. Shunning camouflage altogether, the flamboyant Spanish dancer flounces through the night. Its colorful costume is a signal to predators. Like other nudibranchs or sea slugs, the Spanish dancer looks much better than it tastes. Overcome by darkness, parrotfish retire into the fabric of the reef. Some of these daytime dandies sleep in a gossamer cocoon of their own weaving. Perhaps this mucus bubble disguises their scent to unwelcome visitors. A fast-moving vegetarian, the parrotfish grazes algae with its bird-like beak. Clownfish may be left out in the dark when their protective anemone shuts up for the night. This is the reef's best-known example of shared lives. The reef is a multi-layered organization, and its inhabitants have perfected the art of living on and in each other. Liaisons are everywhere, but some may be hard to find. An ornamented anemone harbors color-coordinated shrimp. Competition for the reef's limited resources is tough. When citizens live together, there are winners and losers. The blood-sucking fish louse has a one-way relationship with its suffering host. Even corals are not exempt from exploitation by others. Down among the valleys of the polyps lies another world, a world that's never been seen. Among the heaving tissues of the polyp live flatworms the size of a pinhead. Living on the thin veneer of the coral's mucus, these tiny lodgers appear to do no harm, gliding like magic carpets in a world of altered reality. On the reef, every opportunity has been investigated. Space is at a premium, and overcrowding